Okay, first cab off the rank. It's a good position to be. All right, today I'm going to be talking to you all about building an amazing team. So I've got a lot to cover because HR is so broad. So I'm going to give you lots and lots of little tips, and then you can utilise my expertise throughout the journey. Now, prior to preparing for this presentation, I found out a little bit about what most leaders, members are interested in finding out more about, and these were the areas that most people wanted to know about. So recruiting, organisational structure, employee share plans, dealing with Gen Y, manufacturing contracts. So obviously there's a lot there, and I can't cover all of those in a lot of detail. So what I want to do is focus purely on how do we actually increase performance within our people, because ideally if we can do that, we're getting the return that we want, you're happy as business owners or managers, the business is getting the returns, and we usually would have happy and engaged staff when they're performing as well. So firstly, I want to share with you this quote, which is actually something that I really rely on a lot in my business. So you don't build a business, you build people, and then people build the business. So my view on building my business has always been about building a team that treats my business like it's their own. So I want to be able to go and do the things that I want to do whilst we're achieving our business vision. And the best way to do that is have a team of people around you that love it and want it to succeed as much as you do. And it is absolutely possible. You may not believe me, but it is absolutely possible. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is some of the things that can help you towards getting to a point where you are creating a team that actually gives it everything that they've got, so that you can achieve the goals that you have for your business. So to get started, I want you to get on your clickers because I want to find out a little bit more about you. So firstly, let's find out how many employees do you have? So 0 to 20, 21 to 50, 51 to 100, 101 to 300, 301 plus. I'll give you some time. Ready to start? Great. Okay, so the majority, we've got 0 to 20, and our next biggest is 51 to 100. Awesome. So we find that the majority of business come to us at a point where they're sitting around that 15 staff. They're really starting to feel the pressure of having a team and the complexities that come with that. So it's quite interesting that the majority of the people here have 0 to 20 staff. Okay, thank you for that. I've got one more question for you for now. What is the most challenging part of HR for you? So is it understanding legislation and compliance? Is it dealing with poor performers in your business? Motivating and inspiring staff? Creating a winning culture? Or is it recruiting or getting those great people in your team? You ready? Go. Ooh, that's interesting. That was different to Queensland. Recruiting. So it sounds like we've got some businesses that are hopefully growing and expanding their teams, perhaps maybe replacing some not-performers. Seeing we've got some dealing with poor performers is a bit of an issue there. And also creating a winning culture, but recruitment is quite important. Excellent to know. So this is great for you to also understand who here, what are the challenges that each of you are having, because then you can be having discussions with each other too and helping each other out. All right, so let's get started and have a talk about what actually does HR cover, because we find that it's actually one of the most misunderstood streams within businesses. People think it's either payroll or they think it's setting rules. So many misunderstandings around what HR actually is. So at Wattsnext, we classify it into 4 key areas. One is a compliance, so that's our legislation. So I'm talking things like employment contracts, policies, dealing with unfair dismissals or bullying claims, ensuring that you are training your team on what they are allowed and are not allowed to be doing. So everything that's about the rules. And unfortunately, this is something that we don't like to spend too much time on, but it's crucial that you have a really clear understanding of what you can and cannot do, because what it can do is it can cost you a lot of time and money down the track if you don't understand this. So we've got our compliance area. We then classify HR management is really about the ecosystem of an employee within your business. So I'm talking things like your onboarding process, performance reviews, salary review processes, probation, all of the actual frameworks and systems that you would have in place, or you may be planning to have in place, to ensure that your employees have structure within your business. Performance, so this is, as you would have heard me speak before, is my most enjoyable area. So this is leadership and culture. So this is when we're talking about what's the DNA of your business, what's the culture, how do you want people to feel when they come into your workplace, how do you want them to perform, and how do we get them to do that? How do we lead them? How do we provide opportunities? So this performance area is really a proactive area of HR, and one where we can actually have lots of impact on your business when we focus on it. And then we have recruitment, which is finding the right people. And as we know, if we don't find the right people, then we have issues in the other areas such as performance management, and can have some issues with legislation, as well as costing a lot to your business, as we know. So recruiting is obviously a really important component of HR. Okay, so this gives you a bit of an understanding of what we're covering or what we're talking about when we're looking at HR within your business. Any questions so far? No? Great. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this employee life cycle, not so much for the elements, but more just to point out that when you're thinking about your employees within your business, think about the experience they're having or the journey that they're going through within your business. So firstly, we start off with someone that's out there that knows nothing about your organisation. How do we actually get those people to find out about you? So how do we build awareness of your brand so that when you are recruiting, that you have people that become aware of it and are actually interested to apply? So think about your employee life cycle, starting from prior to your future employee even knowing that you exist, particularly if majority of us are SMEs and don't have big brands. Right through to when you identify that you have a need to bring someone on board, going through the recruitment process, and then what happens when someone actually joins your business. So there's an interesting point here in that we have a lot of people that go through a recruitment process, and then when they actually start, the experience that they had throughout that recruitment process is very different to the experience they have when they start. So building a culture and an employee experience that's consistent all the way through is a really important part of thinking about when you're developing your HR systems. So just a side note. So then we have employees that go through and through their experience they have opportunities to be developed and do training, get performance reviews and increase their skills and capabilities. They may have a promotion, they'll obviously go through a salary increase. There may be some issues at some point which you may need to deal with them throughout their time. And then, they may eventually decide to leave for whatever reason. So once they leave, what is that experience? And when they leave, do they become part of your alumni? Do they become one of those people out there that's an advocate talking about the great employee experience they had with you? Because whilst we think that we want to employ people that will stay forever, it's very unlikely, particularly with our generations these days, but also we don't necessarily want that. Things are moving and changing so quickly, so it's not a bad thing for people to move on. But let's not lose the opportunity that when people do move on, that we've still got advocates out there assisting our brand. So my point with this diagram is really just to get you thinking about what is the employee experience for your employees, and are you thinking about it from the point of before they even know you exist right to after they've left your company and how they're talking about you. Okay, so there's 4 key areas that I want to focus on today, and as I said before, I've got a lot of content here. I'm skimming the surface. I'm going to give you lots of tips, take them down, but I'm more than happy to go into any depth with you individually as you require. So there are 4 things that I think make a real difference to increasing performance. Firstly, slowing down and getting the right people, dealing with poor performance head on and doing it now, understanding what motivates your team, and never underestimating the power of culture. So I'm going to go through those for you. So firstly, slow down and get the right people. Usually when businesses come to us to do their recruitment for them, their highest priority is speed. They need someone yesterday. And I'm sure you've all been in that position. I'm currently in that position myself. All about speed. We need someone yesterday. Speed becomes more of a priority than quality. And this is a major issue. And I understand that from a small business point of view, it's really hard to have that luxury of time. However, if you can focus on changing that, this is a very important element to getting the right people on board. If you can make sure that you're taking the right amount of time to think about and go through the process of getting that right person, I was just talking to Sam about it, I'm going to take the time to get the right person this time, this will actually get you the results. So slow down. Secondly, what are you actually recruiting? How many times have you gone to recruit and you pull out the job description or the task that the person that is leaving was doing, and you go and try to recruit that role again, and not actually stop to consider, is this role still appropriate for our business? Has our business changed, and is this role right, or is the type of person that we want the same as what we had before? Very often when we're taking our job briefs with our clients, we find out that when they come to us and say, I need a whatever type of role, we end up usually leaving with a completely different role that they need recruited, because they hadn't actually considered, what is it that my business needs now? So when you go to recruit, before you go out there with your CCAT or whatever you do to get your people, stop and consider what role you actually want. Now, the next thing you need to do when you're looking at your roles is consider your 3 big rocks of a role. So whenever we're doing role descriptions or looking at someone's position, the first thing we do is we break it down to 3 big rocks. And I recommend that you do this for yourself too, which is basically, what are the 3 key things you should be doing in your role? What are the 3 things that you should be spending 85% of your time on? So to give you an example, my 3 big rocks are staff leadership and development, business strategy, and business development. Now, if I am doing a number of tasks that do not sit within those 3 big rocks, I need to ask the question, why is that? Is it because I'm not focused? Is it because I'm doing things that I like rather than what the business requires, which is an issue in itself? Is it because I don't have the right people around me to do the things that they should be doing? This is a very, very valuable exercise to write down what your 3 big rocks are and assess whether you're spending your time, spending 85% of your time on those 3 big rocks. And I recommend you do it for all your roles. Just another example. So a sales manager, for example, 3 big rocks may be new business development, account management and reporting. And you might like to break that down into percentages. This gives someone absolute clarity around where they're going to get the outcomes that you require. Okay, the next thing in relation to getting the right people, throwing an ad on Seek doesn't cut it anymore. If you do not have some sort of social media strategy in relation to building your talent pool or finding your next person, you are going to be behind the times very quickly. I'm an absolute advocate for social media, and I'd be more than happy to do a whole session, Dan, on the success that Wattsnext has had from social media, as you know. However, in relation to your recruitment, this is an absolutely amazing tool. Amazing. So if you are not utilising social media or you don't know how to do it, please come and talk to me at some stage, because this is an area that you need to be aware of, particularly if you find it hard to get those right people. It will cut down your time in recruitment, and you become the person who's able to, you become in charge of the process as opposed to waiting for people to come to you. And finally, if you don't know how to interview, get support. As part of our process, we always facilitate our client interviews so that our clients can actually sit back, be present in the interview, not be worrying about writing notes, not worrying about what's the right question to ask next. So if you are not a skilled interviewer or you're not skilled at the craft of recruitment, which I'm assuming the majority of you wouldn't be, then get support to do that, because it is a craft. Thinking of recruitment as being getting a bum on a seat is never going to get you the results that you need. So really think about how you're being supported throughout that process, and you can absolutely get people just to sit in on and facilitate your interviews for you if that's your area that you need support in. Okay, so much content and so little time. All right. Another question for you. How do you currently source your candidates? So word of mouth, recruitment agency, Seek, social media. We have a pool of keen candidates waiting to join us, and we rarely recruit. Start. Oh, no social media. Dan, I need that half an hour to talk about social media. Excellent. I love the keen candidates waiting to join us. So predominantly a recruitment agency and word of mouth, which is fantastic. Word of mouth obviously is fantastic. Okay, that's really interesting. Thank you. All right, let's move on. Dealing with poor performance head on and doing it now. So I'm just telling you that if you've got an elephant in the room in your workplace at the moment, you need to go and have a hard conversation. You need to do it. Usually the reason conversations with staff are difficult or get to a point where they're uncomfortable is because you've put your head in the sand and you've left it too long. So most of us don't like to have difficult conversations with our employees when they're not performing. It's really normal to not want to have those conversations, but they are so crucial, and the longer you leave them, the more damage they do, not only to that person's productivity, but to the morale within your environment. So I'm here to say, you need to have those conversations and you need to do them now. Now, a way to make those hard conversations not as prevalent in your business is to clearly set your expectations. So when you're bringing a new person into your business, this is your time. This is your time to tell them everything that you expect of them. Give them a detailed role description with KPIs or outcomes, however you like to set it up, and make them very clear what's expected of them within 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, however your business is structured. It's very, very important that you're doing that at the beginning and regularly throughout a person's engagement, because if you do, when they are not meeting those expectations, you can get onto that straight away and have a really casual and easy conversation with someone because you've been really clear up front. So usually difficult conversations or poor performance is a result of not having set expectations clearly up front. It's just because we just usually don't get around to it, or we assume that someone knows what they're going to do. You've just hired them, they're good, let them go, they'll be fine. Don't ever assume. Give them as much information as you possibly can. Now, whilst I'm an optimist, I do know that sometimes things don't work out and people aren't right, or they can't perform in a business, or it may be time for them to move on. It's really important whenever you start the initial stages of any poor performance or not quite meeting expectations that you plan for the worst. And what I mean by that is that you put in place documentation, you follow a process, make sure you're documenting, setting clear expectations, writing it down, getting it signed off, because you never know when you may require that information down the track. If you are ever put in a situation where you have an unfair dismissal claim due to terminating someone for poor performance, they are going to want to see your documentation and the process that you followed. So what we find is people come to us and say, I need to get rid of this person and I need you to get rid of them today, because they have absolutely fed up by that point. And usually what's happened is it's been going on for 3 or 6 months and they haven't dealt with it, and they've got to the end of their tether and they want them out, and we can't do that. We need to start the process. We need another, however long it may take, to follow a process so that we can either turn these people around or exit them appropriately. So be aware that as soon as you're having conversations, making sure you start that process at the beginning. Okay. Number 3, understand what motivates your team. So when did you last ask your team what matters to them? We have a number of situations where clients are doing wonderful things for their staff and for their culture, and it's not getting them any results. So I will give you a story of a fast-growing IT company. They had 30 staff. The owner was very excited about the growth and creating an awesome work environment. So he put all of these wonderful perks in place. This was a few years ago, so he was actually a bit ahead of his time. So he had a personal trainer come in 3 days a week. He had a fabulous array of drinks and nibbles in the kitchen. He had paid parental leave for the dads, which was really not heard of at that time. Lots of flexibility and a number of things in the office. They had these fabulous Christmas parties, which was so over the top, but amazing fun. But no one was really happy, and he couldn't understand what was going on when he just kept giving them more and more material perks. They had other things like car parks and things like that. So what we did is we actually sat down with each of them individually and we asked them what was important to them, because he was implementing things that he would have loved when he was an employee. But they weren't all like him. So we asked them what did they want. And what was very interesting was that there was 2 things predominantly they wanted. So the majority of this team travelled internationally regularly. So one, when they would fly back from their long-haul flights, they would like to have the afternoon off so that they could rest and be clear and ready to go the next day. And the other thing was they wanted some training for the staff on the ground, so that when they rang in from overseas to get some support, that they could provide a better service to the clients. They were the 2 things that they wanted. Both things cost hardly anything and benefited the business. So these employees were more interested in being better performing and be able to deliver a better client service than they were about any array of perks. So the point of this is, and I must say that we do a lot of feedback sessions with employees, and it's very rarely perks that they want. It's usually around better leadership, training, development, be able to deliver more to their clients and develop themselves. So if you want to focus on performance, it's really important to ask your team what matters to them. Because what you might find is the little things that matter, that don't actually cost you anything and are really, really easy to implement and have a massive, massive impact. So take the time to ask them. We also find that very rarely money is the motivator. So people need their human needs met and they need to be able to meet their mortgage, etc. But usually money is not the key thing for them. However, if money is the motivator, there's a number of different ways that you can look at how you structure remuneration in your business. And again, we could go into a lot of details about this, so I'm just listing these for you and you can ask me more information about it if you would like. So we've got the opportunity to look at above market rates. So what are your competitors paying? What does the market pay? And you're paying a little bit more so that you can entice people that way if that's what's important to them. There's obviously a bonus on performance, and that's really important that if you're going to go down that path that you're very, very clear on the expectations around what it is that they need to achieve for them to achieve that bonus. We've had so many stories of people where when it comes down to the payment of their bonus, suddenly the boundaries are not so clear anymore. So don't be one of those employers. It's very disengaging. Profit share opportunities that you can offer, and obviously there's also equity, and those things take a little bit more work to nut through, but they are opportunities for you as well. But I would suggest that the first thing you do before even thinking about implementing anything related to this money area is find out what's important to them. Okay, never underestimate the power of culture. Culture is such a buzzword. Every man and his dog is talking about culture. However, it's absolutely the most important part of your business. It's something that if you're not thinking about it, if you're not talking about it, if you're not putting focus on it when you're working on your strategy, then I would expect that you're not getting the return that you possibly could within your business. Now, the first place I always start when we talk about culture is understanding what is your vision, mission and values. What is the vision of your business? Where is it that you're wanting to go? What is the purpose for what you do? And what are the behaviours or expectations around how you behave within your environment? If you don't know this, you need to understand it yourself first, because this is what really draws in your employees. This is what will make them treat your business like it's their own. If you can connect them to this, if you really understand this yourself and you can connect them to this, this is where you start getting some real momentum. So this is the first place that I would always start when looking at any HR strategy, is understanding and getting this right. The next thing is about culture looks simple on the surface. So what I mean by that is, you might walk into a workplace, or it might be your own, and it has a feel. So it has a culture, great culture, we're fun, or we're high performing, or we're family orientated, or whatever it may be. But cultures don't just happen. They actually have structure and strategy behind them. So we've done a lot of work on this in our business at Wattsnext, around looking at what is our culture, how do we want people to feel when they're here, how do we want people to understand their expectations around performance, and how is that going to connect to our vision, mission, values. And so what happens is that we create a number of systems, processes and structures that are happening all the time that makes it look like it just happens. It's just culture going on, people just drive that, it just happens itself. But it's not. It's not at all. So when you think about creating, or if you're wanting to create a culture, you're wanting to change your current culture, there is a system behind it and a framework that you need to create to make that happen and make it really give you that ROI. And the other thing with building a culture, particularly for those of you who are running the managing directors of SMEs, is keeping a culture alive is everyone's job, but it does start with you. So at the beginning, you need to lead it. You need to live it, breathe it every single day. And then eventually you will get caught up in the wave and the team will be living that and you'll just be part of it. That's what will happen. However, it needs to start with you. And that means if you set some values, then you need to live by them. If you've got some language that you have in your organisation, you need to speak that language. If you have systems or processes that you've put in place, you need to be the one that makes sure that you lead by example on every day. Because as a manager and owner, your team are watching every single thing you do. From the minute you walk into that office, they are watching you. They are watching to see what your energy's like. They're watching to see how you're feeling, what you're saying, how you're holding yourself, how you're presenting yourself, whether you've done what you said you're going to do. They are watching everything you do. Don't think that they're not. Thank you. Okay. All right, so I want to ask you, who has a clear vision, mission and values? Yes, no, sort of. Go. Yes, no, sort of. Okay, so we're a bit split. Okay, great. So I'm going to take this question one step further. If I walked into your office right now and I asked your employees, would they know what your vision, mission, values are? Would they be able to tell me, this is our vision, this is why we do our work, these are our values, and this is how they help us, this is how I use them as a tool? Would they be able to do that? Yes, they would. No, they'd have no idea what they are? Sort of. So they may know the words, they might be able to look at them because they're stuck up on the wall, but are they actually driving their performance and helping them on a daily basis? Okay, awesome. So we had a lot higher saying, yes, we do have them, but not necessarily working for the business. So one thing I will say about this, and look, vision, mission, values is a topic I could talk about all day long. One thing I would say about this is that vision, mission, values are not words to put on a wall or on your website. They are a tool for you and your staff. They should guide you and be there to help you make decisions. When you're making strategic decisions about your business, you refer to your vision. Is this decision going to help us achieve our vision? When you're looking at whether you're delivering the work that you promised to for the client, align that to your mission. Is this work going to actually achieve the mission that we said that we're here for? And when you don't know what to do, or your employees are not sure how to deal with a situation, they should be able to turn to the values, and the values give them the answer. They are a guide to help you, a tool in your toolkit. And when they are written and created properly for that purpose, you will find them invaluable to not only help you run your business, but also to engage your employees to increase performance and create culture. I have spent an enormous amount of time implementing this into my business. It's my biggest priority that I work on constantly, and it has amazing impact. So don't think about vision, mission, values as words on a nice shiny paper stuck up on the wall, because that's not what they're about. All right, they're winding me up. So I'm going to give you your takeaways. All right, so if you're going to take anything away from this very quick session, have a think about what culture you want. If you're not happy with the culture you have, think about what you'd like it to be. What would you like people to feel, or what would you like to feel when you go into your office every day? Get clear on your vision, mission, values. Really, really clear. Clear to the point that when you talk about them, they give you goosebumps. They drive your purpose. They inspire you. Because that's what will engage your people, and you can bring in people to your business and attract staff based on your vision, mission, values. Create clear role descriptions within your business. So do your 3 big rocks. Start with you, and then when you pull out your org chart, do your 3 big rocks for all the roles within your business. What it can tell you is, 1, whether people are actually spending time on what they should be, but also it can show huge gaps where roles aren't structured the way they should be. So we see a lot of roles that aren't structured appropriately, and 3 big rocks is a great way to start. And get to know your people. So tomorrow when you go into the office, ask them or notice what's important to them. What's on their desk that tells you something about them. Maybe arrange to have a sit down and learn a little bit more about them. It's really, really important. Thank you very much for your time. As I said, I'm always here to have passionate discussions about boring HR or the really cool things that I just talked about. And I'd be more than happy to help you with anything I can throughout this journey. Thank you very much.